Welcome back. I'm very pleased to see the participants here in the room and all you guys online. The second half, we will continue in English. We will have two excellent guests for you to offer. We have a welcoming words from Ross, and then we will have a technical session later on, which I presume will get rather technical, but luckily we have an expert who has flown over just to inform you guys what changes are coming. However, for next, I'm pleased to welcome the British Ambassador to Estonia, Ross. I know you are very down to earth, so I'm not going to put all the titles and all the rest of it, but please, we welcome you on the stage, and it would be good for you to say a few words about what are your expectations from your stay in Estonia, and where would you like to see our trading relations go in coming years?
With you here this morning. So, minu nimi on Ross Allan, ma olen Briti Suursaadik Eestis. I think I should speak in English for this session though, but I've been enjoying learning a bit of Estonian as I go along, and enjoyed hearing the end of the session before. You might ask why I'm here in terms of a sort of mercantilist view would say it's for the Estonians to sort of figure out how to send more exports to the UK, and the UK should be worrying about how to export more to Estonia. But I don't see the world that way, and I don't think we see the world that way in the UK generally. I'm very clear that more trade between the UK and Estonia is a good thing in general, whichever direction it's going in, and benefits both of us. So obviously, you know, exports means jobs in both countries, but it also means access to really good, high-quality products. And I thought I'd give as an example, I'd talk a bit about what I was doing yesterday. So yesterday I went to Viljandi for the first time, and as well as having, you know, the usual sort of meeting with the mayor, I went to see a couple of businesses. And I thought the two businesses that I went to see really summed up the range of products that Estonia has to offer the UK, and the reason why we would like more exports over in the UK from here in Estonia. So I went to see, well, one of the companies is represented in the room, I'm pleased to say, but I went to see, first of all, a company that's been in operation for 4 generations and is a traditional knitwear company. So some of you will know the company Woolish that make fashion products out of wool. And then at sort of the other end of the spectrum in terms of companies, I also went to see Cleveron, which is a fantastic, I think about to have its 15th anniversary, so not quite going for 4 generations yet, but about to celebrate 15 years in business, but has already customers in the UK using their robotic technology, both for lockers and also looking at new technology around robot delivery and so on. And for me, those two companies, well, if I was going to pick 2 companies to sum up the whole range of things that are available from Estonia, you've got everything from very traditional products, or things like, you know, timber, paper, etc., all the way through to the really sort of cutting-edge, high-tech end of things. And for us in the UK, we want to have more of those, those products, that range of choice for British consumers, and to have access to the best Estonian products. Obviously, for us as well, a big thing for us is helping both Estonian companies that want to set up in the UK. So if there are companies in the room or participating online, and you're thinking, you know what, actually, it would help to have a couple of people in the UK going out, you know, generating business leads, or maybe we could employ a couple of researchers or developers or something like that in the UK. Absolutely come and talk to us, because that's part of our job. And we obviously also help British companies looking to export in this direction. So I'm really just the warm-up act today. I'm the starter. The main course is my colleague Adrien, who is here. He's the head of international engagement for the UKCA mark from our BAYS department. I really hope that you'll be able to benefit from hearing from him. I know he's excited to be here because he's done several of these already, but only online. So I think he's quite enjoying the fact that he can travel and that Estonia has provided a proper wintry welcome with a decent layer of snow. So please ask Adrien all your most difficult questions. I've promised that we'll make it as hard for him as possible. But from my point of view, if there's anything that we can do in the future here from the British Embassy, we would love to work with any of you. If you've got any questions, do follow up with us. Two other colleagues I'd like to highlight who are here here in the room. My colleagues Liam and Marina. Liam is based here in Tallinn, and Marina is based in Vilnius, and between them they cover the Baltics, working on both trade policy but also market access issues. And they are here, again, as a resource for you to try to help you if you have any challenges in the future. And I would also like to say a big thank you for having me to my counterpart, Viljar, so Estonian ambassador in London. Viljar and I try to work sort of hand in glove as much as possible. Viljar has ambitious targets for increasing Estonian exports to the UK, and as I said earlier, we support that, and also in the other direction, we would like to grow British exports here. So it's a team effort between all of us, different government departments, the Estonian government and foreign ministry, and us as the UK embassy. So again, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to hearing from Adrien, and I hope it's a really productive day, and thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. You mentioned something absolutely vital, the market access. So that is something that we all deal with day in, day out. We all do know British market is very complicated. It's very difficult to break into. However, how to get over the technical barriers, the technical bits, I'm not going to spend any more time. I will welcome Adrien. Adrien, the floor is yours, and we are looking forward to your presentation. So please.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to my presentation on UKCA. My name is Adrien Couderc. I am head of UKCA International Engagement at BASE, so the Department for Business, Energy, and Industrial Strategy. It's a real pleasure to be here today. As Ross said, this is our first in-person engagement this year. Obviously, Estonia is a key trading partner and a friend, so really excited to be here, but also really curious to see how it goes. Before we start, I would like to make something very clear. If you do not comply with UKCA requirement by the 1st of January 2023, your business could lose access to the GB market. This is the final deadline. There won't be any other extension. So there's really a sense of urgency here. Let's make a start. Okay, so today I'll provide an overview of the UKCA mark and what it means for Estonian exporters to the UK. First of all, I'll talk you through what the UKCA marking is and what sort of businesses are affected. Secondly, I will take you through the step when placing goods on the market in both Great Britain and Northern Ireland, because the rules are different. Thirdly, I will touch on the different routes of assessment very briefly, and then finally, I will briefly set out how BASE can support, but also the resources available to help you in your readiness journey. In terms of the objective expectation today, what I can do today is provide a sort of general overview of the UKCA mark. What I can't do is give really sector-specific advice because it's very technical, but we'll be very happy to have a more focused conversation offline. I'll leave my contact detail at the end of this presentation. So I'll speak for about 25 to 30 minutes. I'll try to make it quick. So the first question is, what is the UKCA marking and when does it apply? So what is the UKCA marking? These slides summarize what you need to know about the UKCA marking itself. Essentially, the baseline is the UKCA marking applies to goods which previously required the CE marking, which I think we're all familiar with. So essentially, the standards to demonstrate compliance remain the same. In the same vein, the responsible authority for enforcement has not changed and remain UK trading standards. The key difference here, I would like to highlight this, the key difference is if a business needs to get its product tested. So if you need to test your product, if you need to certify your product, this will have to be in the UK using a UK conformity assessment when it was done previously in the EU. So the CE marking is delivered by EU conformity assessment and the UKCA marking by UK conformity assessment body. If a product does not need to be tested, that's not always the case, then we call that self-declaration or self-assessment. And then I would like to add on this slide, it is perfectly legal to use both the EU and UKCA marking as long it meets the rules for both markets. So you can have a product for the EU market and for the UK markets. Okay, so now what marking applies where? It gets a bit complicated because of the Northern Ireland Protocol, but essentially the UKCA mark is the new product marking for Great Britain. When we talk about Great Britain, we mean England, Scotland, and Wales. There are different arrangements in place in Northern Ireland, which I will cover later in this presentation. But as you can see, Northern Ireland continues to follow EU rules. So what does that mean in practice? It means that in Northern Ireland, you can continue to use the CE marking, as well as a sort of specific marking just for Northern Ireland, the UKNI marking. That's only if you get your product tested in the UK. But if you have a product tested in the EU and you export to Northern Ireland, you can continue to use the CE marking. Okay, moving on to the timeline, moving on to implementation. Just a quick reminder of the key dates. The most important date is the 1st of January 2023. This is the final deadline. I'll say it again and again. Most products must have the UKCA marking by that date. There is, of course, one exception, always an exception. The rules for medical devices recognize the CE mark for longer, so you have until the 30th of June 2023 to transition to UKCA if you are exporting medical devices to the UK. So give you an extra 6 months. So again, this is the final deadline, and I really encourage you, if you haven't started the process, please do look at it, especially if your product requires testing. And I'm saying this because in some cases, the certification process can take up to 6 months. So basically, you have until end of June to start the process. Okay, so this was a very brief overview of the UKCA mark. The second question is, what sorts of business are affected? So on this slide, you will be able to see a list of product areas covered by the UKCA marking. This includes measurement, radio equipment, and eco-design, for instance. There are, again, special rules for some products. Medical devices, rail, construction products, and civil explosive. I won't go into detail right now. So this is fairly comprehensive, but if your product does not fall under any of this category, I'll invite you to check our guidance. Our guidance on our website where you have more detail. But in doubt, I will always say to businesses in doubt, if you are using the CE mark, it is likely that you will need the UKCA mark. Okay, moving on to economic operator. I won't spend too much time here, but as I said earlier, there has been some changes in the way we define role and responsibilities. So the key economic operators and how we define them are summarized on this slide. I'll go through them very quickly. Manufacturer, I think quite self-explanatory. Someone who manufactures a product, who has a product design, and market that product under its name. Importer, very important. You will have more responsibilities if you're an importer, so you're essentially the first person to place goods on the market from an external market, such as Estonia. A distributor is a person other than a manufacturer, an importer, who makes goods available on the market, so he's usually a retailer. And then lastly, an authorized representative is a person who is appointed by the manufacturer to undertake some tasks, such as administrative duties, for instance. So do make sure that you have a good understanding of who you are in the supply chain. It is really important in terms of your responsibilities. Okay. Now we covered what sort of businesses are affected. I'm going to talk about the various actions for businesses to place products on the GB market. So this slide summarizes the process you will need to follow to get the UKCA marking on your goods and onto the GB market. So the process is broadly similar to the CE marking. Once you've established whether you will need the UKCA marking, you need to check the route for conformity assessment. So there are two routes. You can either self-declare, or you need to have your product tested. As I mentioned already, this is generally the same as for the CE marking. The second step is, of course, to get your product tested in the UK, and to follow, of course, or to follow the procedures of self-declaration. Then you will need to apply the UKCA marking to your product. I won't touch on this right now, it's a bit technical. And then once you have followed the procedures and placed the UKCA marking on your product, you can then place it on the market. So when you make it, essentially when you make it available to customers, to GB customers. Okay, moving on. Now we'll look at the key concept of placing goods on the market. Very important if you're an exporter to have a good understanding of that concept. Placing a good on the market refers to when a manufacturer, sorry, let me rephrase, refer to when a good is first made available for distribution, consumption, or use on the GB market. So this refers to each individual goods and not just the type of goods. So you need to demonstrate compliance for each of your goods. To prove you have placed a product on the market, you can use sort of standard documentation, business transaction, or invoice, or a contract of sale. So any subsequent operation is defined as making available. So when a good is made available, it must comply with the legal requirements that were in place at the time it is placed on the market. We also have another definition, putting into service. Sometimes people don't really understand the difference, but essentially it means when the first time when a good is used in GB by a customer. In both cases, so when you place a good on the market or when you put it into service, the goods needs to be compliant before either of the two happen, essentially. Okay, now let's look at a very short case study, a printer, to help illustrate what I've just tried to explain. So, as I already mentioned, you can continue to use to place CE marked goods on the market in Great Britain until the end of 2022, so until December. But on or after the 1st January 2023, the manufacturer, so you, will need to follow different rules when placing a goods in Great Britain. So, for instance, a printer that was placed on the market in GB for the first time before 1st of January 2023 a CE or UKCA mark can be used, either of the two, but you can continue to use the CE mark. But for a printer that was placed on the market in GB for the first time after the 1st of January 2023, the UKCA marking must be used. And then also worth noting that the CE marking cannot be used for the GB market, but it can use alongside the UKCA mark for other markets. Okay, moving on. Components. So I did get quite a few questions from Estonian businesses, so I thought I would include something on components. So really, it's a source of question. I'll try to keep it simple, but essentially, all imported goods, including components, need to be compliant with UKCA requirements before it is placed on the market, if it's placed on the market after deadline, of course. So this may include a requirement for component to be individually conformity assessed and marked. Okay, so not spending too much time on component, I did get some question about leasing and hiring. So the loan, hire, or of a good supposes a transfer of possession of rights. So you will need UKCA marking if they are being placed on the GB market for the first time after the 31st of 2021, so last year. However, the repeated leasing and hiring of the same goods, which has been placed on the market, will not require remarking if loaned, leased, or hired after this date. So I put an example. A piece of equipment originating from a country outside the UK, such as Estonia, that is hired by a customer in the UK before the end of this year, can be shipped back to the supplier and rehired later without the equipment needing to bear the UKCA marking. Okay, slightly technical, but I hope this is clear. I'll move on to placing a good on the Northern Ireland market. Won't spend too much time on this. If you export to Northern Ireland, I'm very happy to have a more focused conversation offline. So a few key points. Goods will need to continue to follow EU rules as long as the Northern Ireland Protocol is into force. So that's not going to change. You will continue to use the CE marking if you self-declare or if you have your product tested in the EU. Product which have had conformity assessment by a UK notified body cannot be placed on the market in the EU. So if you have your product tested in the UK, you cannot place it on the EU market. In this case, they will need a CE UKNA marking to be sold in Northern Ireland. So there's a kind of a hybrid dual system in Northern Ireland. Okay. So we've covered the concept of placing goods on the market, which is really important. Now let's take a look at third-party assessment. So as I said earlier, there are two routes for assessment. One of them is self-assessment. Is pretty much straightforward. In the GB market, you can self-declare if you were previously self-declaring for the CE mark. In the NI market, Northern Ireland market, self-declaration remains unchanged. So you can continue to follow EU rules. The second route is third-party assessment when your product needs to be tested. So in the past, you were most likely using a EU notified body. In the UK, all EU notified bodies have become UK approved bodies. So it's just a change of name, but the function remained the same. They can test for the UKCA marking for the GB market, but they cannot test for the CE marking for the EU market. And in DAP, you can find a list of UK-approved bodies on the UK CAB database. I'll share some link at the end of this presentation. I won't cover Northern Ireland, but if you export to Northern Ireland, there's essentially no change. You can continue to use the EU conformity assessment body. I think the last point on this is really I encourage you to speak to your conformity assessment body as soon as possible. I've said it again, the certification process can take up to 6 months, so do not delay and contact a UK approved body if you haven't done so and if you need to do so. Okay, so that was a brief overview of the UKCA mark. For further information, we have a number of resources which will be shared with you after this presentation. We have step-by-step guide. We have FAQ documents. We have one-pagers. So please do check. They're really tailored for businesses. They're easy to understand. So really, please do use them. And then we're also running a series of webinars. So those are more technical, more focused. We have approximately 2 webinars per week. So please do check our website. I really recommend you to take part in more of those webinars if you are concerned about UKCA. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I hope this was clear. If you have any questions which were answered in this webinar, you can email my team. I put the team email here, or you can contact me directly. And now I'm happy to take any questions.
If you'd like to take a seat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adrien. We actually have a number of questions that we have received on the online format. But before we do so, just for the purpose of clarity, I'm just going to very randomly name a couple of categories. And if you could just tell us, do these products need the UKCA, or are they exempt, or do they go under a different categories? So and I'm just naming the companies that I know are present or have asked questions already. So for example, cladding material for buildings.
Yes, that falls under construction products.
Okay. Office furniture.
So office furniture, it really depends on what kind of furniture. If it has any electrical as part of it, yes, it falls under the UKCA.
Okay. Now, the next one is a little bit more complex. Modular houses. If we have modules that have, for example, it has windows, it has bathroom, it has toilet, it has shower, it has tap, a mirror. So what sort of elements, and if I'm producer of those modules, do all my sub-suppliers need the UKCA as well?
So depending on the component on the product, but generally yes, because they fall under construction products. But for instance, if a boiler is included, then it's heating equipment, then yes. Plumbing equipment requires UKCA marking as well. So in doubt, I always say if you use the CE mark, you will need the UKCA mark. So
do you understand it shortly? So if I'm a modular house producer and I've got a contract, so some of the dispatches will leave this year and some of the elements will arrive to the UK next year. So the items that I will deliver next year, that very same bath or toilet, I will need to, how do I do that practically? Do I just get the UKCA compliance confirmation from my sub-supplier? Or how does it practically work? So if I'm building that module, how do I submit the paperwork to say that all my sub-suppliers are UKCA as well?
So if the products are placed after the deadline, all of the product will need the UKCA marking. Mm-hmm. If they are placed on the market before, then you can use the CE marking. To demonstrate conformity, you have what we call declaration of conformity. This will be needed for each product. So there's no, to answer your question, there's no one certification, not one document for the modular house. You will need a product for each of the components. I think I have my colleagues on the line. Ben, do you have anything to add to this? I don't think we can hear him.
It does seem to be on mute. That's the reality with these online, virtual and hybrid events. However, I will continue with a couple of questions. If we can get your colleague online as well later on, we will seek some clarity from him. For example, now here is an interesting one, where we have CLT, the cross-laminated timber structures. So does that fall under construction?
So it depends on the type of timber. So to give you an example, some require UKCA. For instance, strength graded timber requires UKCA. Plywood, OSB, cheap boards. I'm not a specialist in timber woods, but that's a few examples that will need UKCA marking.
Okay. What about garden offices? And I think it's similar here as well. So the garden office that has a couple of windows, it has already pre-wired electrical cables and a couple of sockets. And let's say it has a built-in radio on the wall. So do we need for all the items, we need the UKCA?
So the radio will if the radio needs to be UKCA compliant, the radio will definitely need the UKCA marking, and that will apply to each of the subcomponents of this garden office.
Okay.
Yes.
No. Sandwich panels and insulated cladding.
I would say yes, because these fall under construction products.
Okay. I'm just reflecting the questions that have come forward. So
no,
clearly we have exporters, they sell their products and that is their main worry. If I sell sandwich panels, am I exempt or not? Now, here's an interesting one. Solar panels.
Yes. Solar panel need CE marking, so they will need the UKCA marking.
And what if the solar panel is not just the solar panel that goes on top of your roof, but becomes the integral part of your roof, i.e. it actually becomes off your roof?
Put it simply, I don't know. I don't know on this one.
But it would fall under the construction material, would it not?
Yes, construction products. So UKCA applies to most construction products in general.
Okay. And then we have, what about sawn timber and packing material?
I'm not sure on that one. I would invite, I can come back to you on this one because I'll need to check the guidance.
Okay, the awards of the day goes to the individual who said sawn timber and packaging material. But I will, hopefully we will be able to get your colleague live. And technical team, do we have availability to take him on? Yeah, we can.
Can you hear me?
No, unfortunately.
No, I don't think we can hear him.
We can't hear him. But I presume we have the Zoom participants will be more privileged because they will get the additional answers as well. I'll come back to you, Adrien, now with the last one that we have on the list, or that just popped on my screen. What about playground equipment?
That's a good one.
Oh, we've got two awards.
Ben, does UKCA mark applies to playground equipment? Yes or no?
Well, we can see him on the screen, but as always with the British, it's not yes or no, it's more nuanced, and he smiles.
Okay, I think it's better if we come back to you on this, because I don't want to give incorrect advice.
Okay, we will, the participants on Zoom, we will send you the summary of the slides and also the questions that we have answered. And as always, you're free to email both me and Adrien as well. We will try to get you the answers. However, do we have questions from the audience? Yes, I can see a few. So there, gentleman there.
Yes, a question about notified bodies. You said earlier that those notified bodies who are located in UK, they automatically have this notified body authorization for this UKCA. But what about the others? Do you know, are there a lot who are applying for this, or that are situated outside the UK? No, like TÜV Rhineland and so on.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I think it's me. I can't hear from here.
The question is, are there many notified bodies outside of the UK who already have or are applying for this, that they can do this UKCA authorization?
So the people who apply to a UK approved body are the businesses. That's when you need to get your product tested. Previously this was done across Europe using EU notified body. The change now is those notified bodies that are in the UK become UK approved bodies. So we do have businesses from the EU already applying to get their product tested in the UK to UK with UK approved body. We are aware that there are some issues with demand. For instance, some sectors are not yet covered in the UK, pyrotechnic, but we are addressing these issues, and we are working with our cabs, with UK approved bodies, to make sure we can meet that demand. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we had next question there. Mart was one of our panelists earlier on. Yes, please.
Thank you. On your slide showing different products, I remember having this construction products listed as related to special conditions or something like that. Can you be slightly more specific about what kind of special regulations are there for construction products? I understand it's a wide range of products, but still.
So again, there are a few exceptions. I couldn't go through them one by one. My colleague, I was hoping that my colleague and I would help with this one. I don't know about construction products. Sometimes in terms of the deadline, as I mentioned, medical devices are a bit longer to get ready. For construction products, I'm not so sure. To be honest, I'll need to come back to you on this in writing and check with my colleagues.
We will do that, Matt. We've got your contact numbers, and it's good that, yes, we can engage with you. That's part of your engagement team, isn't it? Because let's be honest, the things are a lot more complicated now than they used to be, and therefore the UKCA, it really affects the people who already export and to the UK, and as you mentioned, there is a sense of urgency that I think the ones who know that you will be dispatching your next shipment in end of the year or next year, the changes will come into effect, and one has to start thinking about it. Do we have? I can see a gentleman here. I know that he produces security locks. Does security locks go straight into the construction category again, or is it something different?
My answer, I think, would be yes, it falls under construction product, but are you using the CE mark at the moment? Then you will need to use the UKCA mark.
They are indeed. Do we have any more questions from the audience or any comments? It does appear we do not have. So we left the last session fairly flexible. There's no point of trying to drag it out if we can't. I don't have any more questions from Zoom, so I will now conclude. I thank you all the panelists who took part, all the companies, all people who came here, and all you who viewed us online. And also, Adrien, huge thanks to you for traveling over. We will share your email, and should we have any more concrete questions, we will, of course, expect you to come back with some more detailed answers with your team and with your colleagues. And yeah, as we mentioned already earlier, we still encourage you to export to the UK. It is a wealthy market. It is extremely complicated market, but it is such a pleasing and satisfying experience when you actually manage to complete the purchase, dispatch it, and get your money. But as I said, thank you all for participating, and all the viewers, thank you very much. And with it, we are done for now.